Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope we're doing well. I'm sure a lot of you are in lockdown, the same as myself, and I'm sure a lot of you are still out of work, same as myself as well. But anyway, it's all good. The sun is shining outside here. I didn't get a chance now to put up an episode of last week, but that's all good because I'm going to pop up two episodes this week. So today's episode is a recording from my teen platform for helping teenagers become physically, emotionally, mentally stronger. So if you have a teenager, check out foreverstrongteens.com. But anyway, Dave O'Leary is the guy that's joined me today, and he is a nutritionist. He's an absolute master when it comes to the relationship between good health and food. So it's an interesting one today. Dave shares a bit about his own personal journey, his own personal story, and also as well gives us lots of tips and insights into nutrition. So again, I hope you get a lot from today's episode. But anyway, let's dive straight into it and get stuck in. Hey guys, how are we getting on today? So today we're here with an expert in nutrition and health, Mr. Dave O'Leary.
Hey guys.
So it's exciting to have him on board, sharing his wisdom and tips all in around nutrition. So Dave, welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So I suppose let's take a bit of a step back, and if you wouldn't mind sharing, like, what was life like for you as a teenager?
Yeah, no problem. So I suppose, guys, life for me as a teenager was a little bit awkward. When I was growing up, I was never into fitness. I was not into nutrition by any means. I had a really poor diet. I was the kind of teenager that would get out of bed in the morning on my day off from school, and I'd go downstairs looking for like chips and curry for breakfast. Like complete opposite to the way I am now.
Tasty.
Tasty, but doesn't really do you a whole pile of benefit in the long run. I was just that way inclined. I was a bit of a carbaholic. I always wanted chips. I always wanted pizza. I always wanted biscuits, and
You're someone that was kind of always hungry all the time as well.
constant. It was almost like there was like a little demon on my shoulder constantly whispering to me, eat, eat, eat. I could just not control my hunger.
Yeah.
So
Was there something that you felt that kind of triggered that?
from, I suppose, thinking back, I didn't think I was at the time, but I came out to my parents as gay when I was about 19, 20. But I suppose maybe 2 years leading up to that, I probably had, a lot of
Stress and anxiety.
stress and anxiety around it, but definitely kind of a bit of a mental change in state,
Yeah.
It's kind of weird for someone to be brought up in a way thinking, men should like women, women should like men, to then feel a little bit different around that and not being able to, I suppose, process those thoughts. So I suppose thinking back now, I think I probably did do a lot of maybe say like eating my own feelings towards that.
Yeah.
At the time I didn't realise what it was. I just thought I was like the chubby guy in school who loves eating food. But that weight I suppose I gained didn't really kind of come on until my kind of late teenage kind of years. Which kind of brought me to I suppose a concern of my own health. I realised I gained a lot of weight and I knew I needed to do something about it. So, I suppose thinking back, it really was kind of really before the time of like the internet sensation where you could hop online and find, tips and tricks around everything. I mean, this now, don't want to show my age too much, but it was about 11 years ago. So I knew I needed to do something about it. So I found the route of study, just go in, study it, learn more about nutrition, apply it to myself.
Yeah.
So I went and studied for a year when I was 18 in Stefan Nefa. I studied biology, food science and nutrition, which I think that course is actually even still available. I think they're still running it. So I went and did it for a year and got even fatter, gained more weight. So I thought there's something wrong here. Either I didn't pay attention in class, which again, thinking back was probably a high possibility. Or I wasn't, I suppose, applying the information I learned correctly to myself.
Yeah.
So thankfully I got a job out of college and I started working in a health store. And I was about 19 at this stage because the course was about a year long. And I started working my first ever, I suppose, manager in the career that I ended up seeking out. And I had this really bad habit, even after studying that nutrition for a year, where I used to not start work till 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And, Jesus, she sees us now, she'll laugh at me. I used to go into work early and go into Subway and get a foot long sub with, your bottle of like fizzy drink that comes with it and your bag of potato.
Yeah.
That was like before 11, because that's when I used to start work. So I used to come in with it, go upstairs, eat that, and you'd be working away for 2 or 3 hours, get sent on your break, like out for your break, back over the subway, another foot-long sub, you know, another, you know, fizzy drink, or sometimes it might have been a bottle of water at that stage. And if I had the crisps with my earlier one, it would be a cookie with my later one, and just like no need for it really, but I did it.
Yeah.
And one day she had, because obviously I gained even more weight as I was working there, and I was in a health store. I was in an environment where it should have been nourishing to the body, but I wasn't treating myself that way. And she said to me one day, kind of really pointed out the weight I had gained, but in a very kind of blunt manner.
Yeah.
Now I know not everyone responds very well to kind of that kind of...
Being told you're overweight or...
Yeah, you know, not everyone will take it very well on the spot. But I am that kind of person where if someone says something to me, I really will take it on the, you know, on the chin and kind of, you know, consider what that person's saying. It's just the way I am. So went home and kind of looked at myself really, you know, in the mirror with my top off, and I thought, Jesus, I've, you know, probably like gotten to the heaviest I've been, which at the time was about 16 and a half stone. You know, to most that might not sound like a lot of weight, but I'm only 5'7". I'm a pretty short guy. I could not carry that off. So that kind of really resonated with me, that like my health and my kind of state of well-being was not okay. Like something had to change. To be 19 and to be, you know, carrying that kind of weight on your body was just not good. So
do you think it was a positive thing that she actually pulled you and said that to you one day?
Yeah, I think so. Probably could have said it in a softer way. But in a way I'm kind of glad that it came across the way it did, because I took her words seriously and I done something about it. And up until then, no one ever really said anything to me about my weight. Never really made me feel like I needed to change. So she really kind of set me off on this path of, okay, I need to improve. I need to do better.
And you obviously had the knowledge behind you of what you should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, from that course I done, it was very much a basic understanding, which is probably more than what the general populace had at that time. I had a very basic working knowledge of nutrition. So I applied a little bit of what I learned, and after 5 weeks of, say, trying to form more of a balanced lifestyle, I lost 1 stone in weight.
Okay.
Which was great. I was delighted. You know.
So you just made little changes.
My changes started out really were, all right, I thought the sandwich from Subway was a good idea, but eating 2 foot-long sandwiches a day was not. So I cut those out. And that was like my first like attempt at a change, is like cut out those 2 sandwiches, bring in your own lunch. There's no need to eat, you know, 2 Subways a day. And that brought me to the 1 stone, and it was just like an instant plateau. So I got to where I was, and that was it. And then I realised again, okay, well, more's got to change. I'm obviously not doing enough. I was at that kind of weight then for, you know, a couple of months. More needs to happen to kind of bring me forward again, you know. So that's kind of where I was stuck then for a while. I had a basic knowledge, not a very in-depth one. Didn't really know where to go or who to turn to for kind of help. It was very much I had to try and help myself in this matter, because, you know, my parents never grew up studying nutrition. I suppose the knowledge that we have now wasn't around back then, so it had to be self-interest. You had to learn to be able to
you
change
couldn't
yourself.
jump on YouTube and find what you wanted to find, or ask questions or anything like that.
I don't even think we had like internet in the house at that stage.
No, I think that's brilliant, because it's obviously going to be, especially around teenagers, there's going to be a lot of people that are overweight, and maybe someone won't reach out to them, and even like their parents or whatever, they mightn't ever pull them aside and say, you know, maybe we might have to change a couple of things here, because it's not just about having the weight on, but that's obviously going to affect their emotions, how they actually feel about themselves, their own self-love against themselves. And like normally, like coming across clients with the personal training stuff, they come across people and you see that they're overweight, and they'll find it really hard to change their eating habits because they've lost connection with themselves. They feel like they have to keep doing it, because if they lose weight, they're going to start feeling better about themselves. But they have this barrier that's stopping them from moving into that place. So even if someone is watching this now and someone isn't telling you, I think it's really important that you can actually connect with yourself and ask yourself, are you happy with the way you are, or do you need to change? No, you don't have to change. Again, it's completely up to you, but it's about you just connecting with yourself and just asking yourself that question, are you happy with yourself? And if you're not, then it's okay to start making changes. It's okay to start asking people for help or looking in a direction that that could help you. So, no, that's brilliant. Thanks for sharing all that.
No worries. I think what you've mentioned there as well, not everyone will be put in that situation where you will have someone, who you would, I suppose, call a friend, be able to, pull you back and say, I think you need to change. I think you have a bit of an issue and this, that and the other. I would say a lot of people would be afraid to actually call someone on things because you don't want to upset them. You don't want to hurt their feelings, and no one wants to be nasty to somebody else, I took it on the chin and moved on from it. I know other people could get called in it and it could make their situation worse. So I suppose it's just, finding, a connection strong enough with someone so that you can actually set them aside, and I suppose in a loving manner, to be able to support them and say, I think we have a problem here, and not send them down an even darker path, bring them more towards a healthier lifestyle,
And I suppose it's not just about that appearance and the way people feel, but it's about long-term health at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That there's so many people, especially young people, developing disease in the body now.
So childhood obesity is rampant in Ireland now, which is just crazy that you could have a state, relatively small population, but with such a high percentage of obesity in kids, when we shouldn't be in that, statistic really,
And why would you say that it's important for, especially younger people, teenagers, to start eating healthier?
There's just so many reasons to do it. Eating healthy will give you, obviously, we have mentioned, you're going to get more energy if you eat a balanced diet. It's going to be better on your body long term. No child should be carrying around excess of weight. It's going to be bad on their joints as they try to grow. It's going to interfere with any hormonal changes will be happening when they get to that teenage stage.
Yeah.
And that's already going to be bad enough if you've had any cranky teenagers in the house. I'm sure parents will agree. Their skin is going to be quite bad if they've got a bad diet. All that, even in combination, if they're carrying weight, they have bad skin, their energy's poor, they're grumpy, they're just not going to feel good about themselves. Which again, all just has a knock-on effect on their mental state. You want a child to be happy, healthy, energetic, be able to take on everything life has to offer to them, and not be, stuck indoors, feeling low, knowing they're overweight, not happy with their body image, and just hating themselves, I think there's just so many reasons to eat healthy and to kind of get onto that track.
Yeah. And would you believe that as well, that kind of processed foods and I suppose foods that aren't real can, I suppose, relate to disease, cancer, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, 100%. I suppose I try to tend to follow a whole food diet as best possible. But processed food is just that, it's processed. They've usually got either a hydrogenated fat or a trans fat inside that can be quite difficult for a lot of people to digest. They're usually completely void of nutrients, so they're not going to give your body, the vitamin C or the vitamin D that it needs for immune function, or B vitamins for energy. They're void of nutritional value. All they are is calories, just actual sugar, energy, but not actual nutrition. They're two very different things. So I find eating a whole food diet will give you both. You get your calories, but you also get your micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals, your essential fatty acids. Processed food doesn't give you that. Yeah. It literally just gives you the calorific value, but no nutrients to actually nourish your body. So I think it is important to get a balance. We all like a bit of processed food every now and then, but it's just not basing your whole diet around eating processed food.
Isn't it true as well around having more nutrient-rich foods is going to be higher in antioxidants, phytonutrients, all your vitamins and minerals aren't they basically the building blocks for your cells, so that your cells can function a lot better? Yeah.
At a cellular level, your body needs essential fatty acids to function. So you need that polyunsaturated fats, your omega-3s. If your cells don't have that, they don't function very well. Your cells also need a whole host of nutrients to create energy. And again, without that, you're not going to feel very good. So whole foods very much give you that. They give you your antioxidants that will combat free radicals, which are basically like toxins that build up in the body. Very much will build up if you have a diet high in processed food. But not just that. I mean, athletes need higher levels of antioxidants because they're creating more free radical damage from exercise. So a whole food diet isn't just for someone who's just trying to eat healthy or just trying to lose a bit of weight. They're really for every walk of life.
Yeah. Can you just quickly explain what whole food is?
To me, a whole food is eating a food in its whole state. So, like eating, the way I often would describe it to clients when I talk about whole foods is, if you can go out and pick it from a tree, if it was alive at one stage, to me, I would classify that as a whole food. The same way for foods I say wouldn't really classify as a whole food would be, say, breads or pastas. You can't go out and pick bread from a bread tree or pasta from a pasta tree. I know it sounds really silly to say out loud. They have to be processed from one food to create this other food.
Yeah.
For me, whole foods is if I can rock up and pick it off a bush or a tree and I can eat it the way it is, to me, that's a whole food.
Okay, cool. So food that's alive.
Food that's alive, yeah.
Okay, excellent.
And not changed from being, one thing
alive
to another.
And process it up and mix it with all different things.
Crisps, They come from potatoes. Potatoes are, I suppose, a whole food.
Yeah.
But to me, once you take it from its potato state, you deep fry it in a hydrogenated fat. I don't classify that as a whole food anymore. I classify that as processed food.
It's killed all the live stuff inside.
Taking everything decent out of it. Yeah. I think it is anyway.
Yeah. Cool. So what kind of tips would you have for, I suppose, teenagers and I suppose even families in general on creating new habits and setting themselves up to start eating more whole foods?
I think a big thing with any change that you're trying to bring into your lifestyle is to do it in small baby steps. I've worked with so many people in the past who want this all or nothing approach, who want to come in and they just want to completely overhaul their diet all in one sitting and want everything to be different, everything to be changed. Usually people who do that fail. People who throw themselves 100% at a complete overhaul of their diet rarely see success. I'm a massive fan of a slow incremental change. So if you want to get healthy and you want to start forming new habits, I would say pick 1 or 2 vegetables, start out and just incorporate those into your diet on a weekly basis. Do that for a week or 2. Then pick something else, be it drink more water. You might aim to drink an extra litre of water a day. Okay, do that for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. Now you've got 2 habits done in a month. You're eating more veggies and you're drinking more water. The next month might be, for the first 2 weeks of that month, I might want to reduce down my, fizzy drink intake. So you might cut out a can of soda a day. The next 2 weeks, you might increase your lean protein a little bit. So after 2 months, you're eating more vegetables, eating more protein, you're getting hydrated, and you're reducing down sugar from a fizzy drink. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking that long period of time to form these habits that will stick with you forever.
Yeah.
And that's the point I try to drive to most of my clients is you have your entire life to get your nutrition right. It doesn't need to be right overnight at the snap of a finger. We need to be 100% healthier. I don't believe you do. I think do that slow incremental change. Pick 1 or 2 things that's in your control to do consistently and to do it very, very well so that you can do it forever. And that's usually where I am with the kind of habit change. And that's where I started out myself. Yeah. I cut out that Subway. Gave it a while. I took up a little bit of running. Gave it a while. Start drinking more water. And all those habits are still with me today. Yeah. Like nearly 10 years of habit building now. But I still do them every single day. And that hasn't changed. But I think, if I threw myself into that all or nothing approach, I don't think I would be here doing what I'm doing now because I know I would have failed. I've seen enough clients fail to know that I also would have. Small incremental, I think, is the best way around it.
Okay, excellent. And would you have a couple of examples of breakfast, lunch, dinner ideas that people could start to eat, I suppose, especially for teenagers as well?
Yeah. I suppose teenagers are notoriously fussy for food. Yeah. I've worked with quite a few to know that they can be a little bit on the fussier side of things, but that doesn't mean that you can't also eat healthy. So an easy one for me, any kids or teenagers I've worked with, they all love pancakes.
Yeah.
But we know pancakes is odd lumps flour, loads of milk, maybe an egg, loads of sugar, again, made from kind of processed food, with some whole foods like your egg inside of it. But like an easy one could just be some protein pancakes. You could get 2 eggs, a banana, maybe some Greek yogurt. If you wanted to chuck in maybe some chocolate protein powder for that kind of chocolate hit for teenagers who like it.
Or something like that.
Or some people even use cacao raw, which is kind of like a raw chocolate. Blitz it up, throw it in the pan. I mean, you're essentially eating pancakes for breakfast, but they're made from actual food rather than processed nutrients. So pancakes are always an easy sell. I mean, I still eat those myself, but again, I make them from kind of scratch, with like real food. Omelets are usually an easy one, most kids will eat eggs. So omelets, find the veg that they like and chuck it in. I'd often get inspiration actually from watching the likes of Joe Wicks and Instagram videos where you'd see people making these like breakfast muffins from like porridge oats, which is classified as a complex carb, can give you good steady energy. I think brekkie muffins are an easy one, especially for school time where your teenagers are probably not going to want to get out of bed very early and will probably roll out of bed and throw on uniform and go. If you make some breakfast muffins, do them like batch by batch, have them in the fridge, you can grab them and just leave the house with them. I'm happy to share some recipes that you might maybe throw up with the video that parents could try out.
That'd be brilliant.
I think keeping it simple and keeping it basic is the main thing. A lot of people try to like make their nutrition like very fancy, and spend hours cooking, and no one wants to be in the kitchen like all morning putting together a breakfast. And just because you spend hours cooking doesn't mean it's going to be healthy. The healthiest meals I put together could be 5-10 minutes in the kitchen and I'm done. If you're using whole foods and real ingredients, you don't need to be stuck there forever. You can make really basic recipes quite simply, So I think keeping it simple, keeping it fast, especially for kids, they're not going to want to be hanging around or getting up early to have breakfast in the morning. So I mean, if you can do a healthy cook batch, great. The same in the evenings when they come home from school, they're probably going to want to be out playing with their buddies, or some kids will want to play on their games console or whatever hobbies they're into. They're not going to want to hang around the house for an hour or two while dinner's cooking.
Food,
Keeping it simple, 15-20 minute job, out the door again.
Yeah. And I suppose even looking at lunch, I suppose for me anyway, personally, when I was in school, I had sandwiches every day. So let's say for people for having sandwiches for lunch, what would kind of, I suppose, the best bread to go for? Because I think sandwiches is the easiest thing for people to make, and that's kind of the number one go-to for teenagers when they're having a lunch.
Yeah, it is.
And I suppose if you want to try and make the sandwich a bit healthier, what would be the healthier option?
That's probably like my most asked question is like, what bread is the best bread? Which is what I hear from that is like, I'm not giving up bread. Just tell me which one I can have, which is fine. I like bread. I eat bread. For me, I usually go for sourdough. It's a fermented style, so it's good for the gut. Any fermented food is going to be really nourishing to the tummy. It's going to provide either probiotics or prebiotics, depending on which one you go for. The more you can get into your system, the better it'll enhance your digestion and is really good for immune function. So I like sourdough. Another one that would be, say, low in the glycemic index would be like sprouted wheat breads. They don't taste as nice as sourdough bread. So I think if you were looking to put together a sandwich for your kid's lunchbox, sourdough is probably the closest that you'll get to, say, like real bread, but it's quite low on the glycemic index. So it shouldn't cause too much havoc with their blood sugar levels, which should be, kind of kept intact if you're trying to help with their energy and concentration.
And I suppose even for the lunch as well, they can still bring some of the pancakes with them, or the muffins and stuff like that.
100%. I mean, if you're making like pancakes and muffins with like healthy ingredients, they're not just for breakfast. You could use them as snacks. I recently moved house, and I often do that. Like I would batch make like either healthy cookies or healthy muffins with the house. I'm currently sharing. I made a batch of 12 chocolate muffins recently using that cacao powder you recommended earlier on. Put them in the fridge, and I got 2 out of the 12. And this is a household of people who don't really eat vegetables or fruit, and we're going for the stuff that I had baked. So I mean, they're family members, so again, apologies in advance, but you don't eat very well. My family aren't ones that would be mad for veg or mad for fruit. but they're eating the healthier treats that I'm leaving in the house, you know. So I know they work, and I know people who aren't massive fans of what you would classify as, you know, good food. They will eat them,
still eat them
you
as
know.
well, yeah.
But again, I'll share all these recipes with the video.
That'd be
Steve is happy
brilliant.
for me to do it.
That'd be fantastic.
Try them out. They're handy to have in the cupboard. It'll stop you from going for like the biscuits and your sweets and all that kind of carry on, you know.
And then I suppose the same for the dinners then as well. It's leaning towards the whole foods.
Yeah, very much so. I try to keep my dinners like a lean piece of protein. I am a meat eater, so it could be something like chicken or turkey. A couple of nights a week I might have some fish. Common ones on my plate would be some sweet potato for, you know, some good carbohydrate. Might have whatever veg is kind of going. I tend to do like an Aldi or Dunnes trip where, you know, they have like the Super 6 deals where you can get like 6 fruits and veggies that will be reduced down to whatever, 70 cent or whatever they have on. I normally do a trip once or twice a month and just stockpile all that. So my fridge and my freezer to an extent will just be full of it. So it's easy, it's there, and it's just, you know, all good food. But I try to get a balance of proteins, some good carbohydrate, and some good quality fats on the plate to kind of really round off that I'm getting all 3 macros on my plate in good levels, you know.
And so, like, eating healthy doesn't have to be expensive.
Oh God, no.
Not at all.
No.
As long as you're willing to actually go out and look for the stuff and prepare it properly.
Yeah. Like, I bring my lunches to work every week.
Yeah.
Monday and Tuesday I had salmon. Wednesday I had some steak mince, and yesterday I had some chicken. Every day the veg part was kept the same, so I had either sweet potato or maybe a little bit of regular potato, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, broccoli, carrots. So I bought the majority of those on one of those like Super 6 deals in Aldi. I'd say all in my lunches for the week probably only cost me about €12. You know, there's a canteen in work, and the guys who are on my team were probably spending the bones of €7 or €8 a day, you know, and their food coming down, while, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. It might be like a pulled pork burger or a regular burger or a chicken burger, and it was just chips. Again, nothing wrong with it. We all like that every now and then, but like they were probably after spending 30, 35 euros maybe throughout the week on lunches to get processed food. I had all mine all in for about 12, 13 euros, you know, and I work nights. I don't finish until 2:30, but like it keeps me chugging along all night. You know, you get good sustained energy from good quality food. It'll keep you going. Whereas, you know, processed food and junk food, you'll just slump and your energy is going to hit the ground. You'll get cranky and you'll just be looking for something to kind of bring you back up, you know. So it doesn't have to be expensive. I never spend massive money on my food. I look for who does the best deals on what vegetables, who does the best deals on, you know, good quality free range meat, and I just base it off of that, you know.
Okay, cool. I suppose, like, leading on to the next question I wanted to ask you, and that I suppose kind of leads to having that slump and getting picked up on energy. Like something I've noticed recently, especially up in the gym with teenagers coming in training, that they're all drinking these supersized energy drinks.
Yeah.
So, I know after speaking to a few of them, like they drink them every day.
Yeah.
And maybe even 3 or 4 cans of them a day.
Yeah, like, it's. I think the whole energy drink thing is getting a little bit out of control. They're very easy to access.
Yeah.
I was in a gym probably about 10, 12 months ago, maybe a year ago, and a guy had a can of like this name brand energy drink.
Yeah.
It's become almost the norm to see guys in the gym drink it, but what wasn't was he had a sachet of a pre-workout. So I look over and he chucks the can into a shaker cup, in goes the pre-workout, shakes it up and drinks the whole thing. And I was just like, I actually couldn't complete my workout because I found myself constantly staring at this guy thinking, when's his heart going to give out? You know, like, when is this going to be like, you've just taken in too much caffeine, you know? There should be no need for kids to have it. The reason, I think part of the reason kids are becoming hooked on these energy drinks is, for one, their diet isn't great. So they're not having food that sustains their energy. Because their energy is slumping up and down, they're not sleeping very well. So they're not getting restorative sleep. So they're waking up feeling tired. So they're waking up feeling tired. They usually have a breakfast that would be very high in the glycemic index. So it might be sugary cereal, their blood sugar levels shoot up through the roof. They come down just as fast as they go up, and they're almost riding this like roller coaster where they're just up and down all day long on a sugar fix. So they almost feel like they need these energy drinks to just do the workout because they don't have energy to do it. For me, it's, you know, just as simple as they're not paying enough attention to their diet. They're using caffeine as a fix to get through the day. And at a young age, there really isn't the need.
What's I suppose for any teenagers watching this and that are kind of drinking a lot of the energy drinks, what's the long-term effects you think from drinking those?
Well, every energy drink, any fizzy drink usually has got phosphoric acid inside of it. It's not good for your bone density. I was at a health talk, I'd say about 9 years ago. There was a doctor over from England. Her name is Dr. Glenville. And this was very much when I was coming off the stint of my own kind of like lifestyle change. But she was checking people's bone densities on the day. It was like a women's health roadshow. But the company I was working for kind of was hosting her. So during intermission, I went up and I was just chatting to the girls who were running the bone density section. And I said, is there any chance I could get one? Now, I was young, somewhere between the 18 and 20 bracket. And I thought, you know, do it for a bit of crack. I'm not going to have any issues here. So I sat down, you put your foot into this machine and the balloon swells up on your ankle and it tests the density of your hip and the bone. And she comes out the print and she goes, oh yeah, you've osteopenia. And I was like, what? How? You know, like I'm young and these are issues that people are usually faced with in later life. You know, people who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s and more so women, develop osteoporosis and osteopenia. And the lady was like, okay, well, you know, started naming her a couple of things. And all the contributing factors that she was naming out were stuff that I'd done on a daily basis on the lead up to my own health change, which was drinking fizzy drinks, certain foods. So, you know, where I was, you know, on top of my weight gain, I also had like really poor bone density. So like those fizzy drinks are a contributing factor. The phosphoric acid strips calcium from the bone, was what I was informed on the day. So it can be quite shocking. It's not just diseases and illnesses that you'll pick up in later life. A lot of them you can get when you're very young. So there's that. The artificial sweeteners they use, a lot of them aren't good. Aspartame is a very common one. A lot of artificial sweeteners can cause dysbiosis of the gut bacteria, which is, it basically upsets the balance in your gut. So a lot of people who feel they have digestive issues, they may have food intolerances. Sometimes it is just as simple as you're actually consuming too much artificial sweetener and it's just throwing everything out of whack. So like out of the hundreds of potential kind of issues that it could arise, bone density and gut health are two that can come from drinking those energy drinks, you know. Potentially. Not everyone is going to be affected by it. I obviously was just susceptible, and I know I'm not the only one either, but it is a reality that you can pick up illnesses quite young if you're over consuming those drinks. But like on top of that, we're very much faced with nutrient deficient diets. So if you have a diet that's void of nutrients because you're eating too much processed food, something as simple as getting calcium into the body could be an issue. But then if you pick a teenager who doesn't eat calcium dense foods, but are over consuming fizzy drinks and artificially sweetened drinks, you're taking in something that depletes calcium from the bone, but you're also not following that up with taking in good levels of calcium from your diet. So what happens? It's just going to strip from the bone.
Something has to give, yeah.
Something has to give. If you're not taking it in and you've got something deteriorating what you have, something's got to go.
So long before,
Exactly. So we don't consider, just grab a can of cola here or grab a can of orange. You think, sure, look, it's just one can. But if you're doing that every day, or some people, you know, I've had clients who might have had 6 or 8 cans of like fizzy drink a day. It's what's going to happen if you do this for the next 5 years or the next 10 years. Chances are you're going to cause a deficiency illness, you know, so it's just not good.
So it can be potentially serious then.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, I was only young and I was faced with, you now have osteopenia.
Yeah.
I don't anymore. Like through my dietary changes and supplementation and exercise, I was able to rectify that. But I caught it when I was young. I mean, some people don't realize it until they're just that little bit older.
Yeah.
That doctor actually on the day had a statistic that by 2030, there was going to be a rise in people in their late 20s, early 30s developing full-blown osteoporosis because diet's lacking in nutrients, with a diet high in specific factors that take those nutrients out of the body. Again, something's just got to go.
Yeah.
You know?
I suppose like the simple solution is what you were saying at the start. Just create those new habits slowly over time, add in more whole foods.
Yeah.
And
it's super important for kids. I mean, if you have a child that may be a fussy eater, which is quite common now, whose diet could be lacking in minerals, they may not be necessarily taking in the nutrients that they need for their actual bone growth and development, which they're going to be doing for years and years until their late teenage years. But they may also have, you know, a diet again that's just high in the nutrients that's just going to knock it on the head. So it's very important, I think, to start it from a young age, to give your kids, you know, the nutrients that they need so that they can grow to be healthy, to avoid sickness, to avoid deficiency diseases, so that they can, I suppose, be the healthiest and the fittest that they can be. You know, they have potentially very long, you know, time to live.
Yeah.
They don't want to be living in illness for their whole life. You know, you want your kids to be living in a situation where they feel good every day when they wake up. And I think, you know, exercise, nutrition, mindfulness, being able to talk about your feelings. For me, nutrition isn't just eating good food. It's a total combination of what way is your mental state, how physically well and able is your body, you know, how good is your energy. Are you feeding yourself the micronutrients that you need to function, you know, long term? It's a total picture. It's not just any one thing, I think, you know.
Cool. As always, thank you so much for taking the time out today to listen to the episodes. If you did like it, make sure you do share it on social media. If you do know someone that will benefit from learning more about health, about nutrition and stuff like that, and for a bit about Dave's story, do feel free to share it on all your social media platforms. I would really appreciate it. And also as well, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on future episodes. And also leave a review, rate the channel as well, please, if you wouldn't mind. But anyway, guys, thank you so much, and I will see you soon on the next episode.